is another front opening in the insider trading scandal probes, right?
Right. We reported today that federal investigators are looking at a Goldman research analyst who was the head of Taiwan research for Goldman Sachs, who made calls, very pressing calls, on a lot of supply chain companies for PC makers who made products for Apple Inc. And other PC makers, Acer. And basically, Mr. King, Henry King, came back to the U.S. a few weeks ago, and subsequent to that, Goldman clients were told he'd been placed on leave. We understand that he is being looked at in terms of allegedly leaking inside information to hedge fund clients, and he talked to a lot of people.
And Michael, yeah, this is not a small name in the research world. I mean, Henry King moves, this is a guy that can move a stock.
Very well known, and we're told basically hedge funds, every hedge fund talked to him, everybody. He had links to the Galleon Group, which led by Rajaratnam, which was basically went under for insider trading, and Level Global was a client of his. One of the co-founders earlier this year was charged with insider trading, so we don't know exactly how he will connect if his name ends up coming out, but it certainly puts us for the first time inside the research department of a major investment bank.
And that's the thing. I mean, you mentioned that that Galleon was a client of his. That's obviously a red flag. But that is the real point here, is that now we're looking at the sort of the white shoe firms, and we're looking at Wall Street, whereas before we were not, right?
That's a major development here. And yeah, before it was like expert networks, public company employees leaking information. Now, if you have Goldman Sachs, it's coming out of Goldman Sachs. That's a huge deal if that ends up coming into.
Yeah, and it kind of brings back some of the concerns that we faced over a decade ago when the reputation of sell-side analysts were really tarnished by some of their behavior, and it seems like we're kind of revisiting that.
Yeah, I mean, the federal authorities, prosecutors, and the FBI have said there is a lot of corruption in the system, and basically people are just playing to whatever advantage they have. And Mr. King had a ton of connections in Taiwan. And
his role and what the kind of information we're talking about is interesting, because you're talking about a lot of these supply chains, a lot of the companies that supply parts, where people would extrapolate from what the suppliers are making, what demand for computers will be, and what that will mean for the technology companies.
Right. So it's difficult to say exactly, without knowing what the government might charge, if they charge anything, exactly, how, if he's talking about motherboard makers, is it a public U.S. public company, or does he have inside information about an actual U.S. PC maker? We don't know any of those types of details yet.
Yeah, and I would assume we'll get those. If there's charges, we should point out the man hasn't been charged with anything.
No.
But he's not at his desk.
He certainly would be the type of person, if the government could get him to cooperate, who they might be interested in having cooperate because of how many contacts that he has.